Let's go. Let's make it do what it do today, baby. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, good afternoon. Yes, we are live, we are live. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. If you're coming on, joining us live, please do me a quick favor. Hit the like button, hit the share button, tag Lolly Dolly everybody, and let them know your boy, Ramon Preston, my squad, we are all live right here in the beautiful Buckhead community of Atlanta. Today is Friday, June the 7th, 2024, and you and I have an amazing opportunity today to talk about one of the most powerful, impactful concepts that any business owner can use. And that concept is the concept of the holding company. So do me a favor, if you're coming on, joining us live, hit the like button, hit the share button, tag somebody, let them know that the Ramon Preston Show is live on this beautiful Friday, June the 7th, 2024. Also, I want you to put in the comments, what city are you watching me from? What state? What country? I don't know. What planet are you watching me from? Put in the comments, let me know where you're watching the Ramon Preston Show from. I want to give a quick shout out to all of you that continue to support our show. For those of you that continue to engage with us on our social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, you name it, Instagram, we're on there. Instagram, you're streaming live from my phone. Shout out to all of our IG family. I appreciate you all for trusting us to share information with you. Let me give you an early disclaimer even before we get into our discussion today. The information that I share with you on this show, the content that I share on social media, it is all designed to help entrepreneurs and small business owners start, structure, and scale their business, their ministry, their income streams. I'm a preacherpreneur. I'm a man of faith. I have a church. My wife and I, we have a congregation. We have a business community. And we, for over 20 years now, have been committed to bring both of those worlds together in ministry and in marketplace to show men and women of faith, Christians, people who are a part of the church community and outside of the community. We've been on a mission to show people that you can have the best of both worlds. You could be a man or woman of faith, and you can be rich. You can be financially free. You could be a minister behind the pulpit. You could be a minister in the marketplace. So that's a part of our mission. So I want to give that early disclaimer, because if you are a small business owner, or if you want to be a small business owner, especially if you are a man or woman of faith, I think it's important for you to surround yourself with people of faith who know how to bring both of those worlds together. That's very, very important. And so that's what we do every day. That's what our content is about. My content is not for people who are lazy, people who have excuses, people who don't want to put the work and the time in. If you're looking for a get-rich-quick scheme, if you're looking for a way to finesse to get to the top, that's not what my content is about. That's not what this show is about. Now that we have that out the way, I want to say welcome to the Ramon Preston Show. If you don't know, now you know. My name is Ramon Preston. I'm the host of the Ramon Preston Show, and we show up here live to give you information that can help you build a seven-figure organizational enterprise. If that's what you're interested in, guess what? You are in the right place. So again, put in the comments what city, what state you are watching the Ramon Preston Show from. I would love to know where you're watching us from. And if you have any questions, put the questions in the comments, My squad and I, we will do our best to find that question, answer that question, and give you whatever information you need. Also, for this entire week, maybe next week too, but at least for this week, we have been extending an opportunity for everyone who joins us live to take advantage of a free business assessment workbook and a strategy call if that's something that you need. Maybe you have questions about holding companies. Maybe you're trying to reorganize your current entity structure. Maybe you're trying to figure out how to price and package and present certain products and services. Maybe you're still in the process of developing intellectual assets that you want some information on. Perhaps you are looking to integrate the systems that you need and processes that you need, and you might be stuck or glitching in a certain area. We can answer those questions. This is what we do every day here at Ramon Preston Enterprises. We are business and real estate consultants, coaches, and educators. So we have a lot of services, we have a lot of courses, training workshops, and a community of people who know what needs to be done to engineer successful businesses. So in the description of this video, with the exception of Instagram, if you're watching from Instagram through my phone and not streaming with us on the other platforms, you will have to go to my bio. But when you click the link, you will see that there's a resource for a free business assessment workbook. So one of the things that I do with all of my clients, mentees, and even students when I have an opportunity to, when I sit down with them to conduct a one-on-one consultation or coaching session, I walk them through our process that we use to consult and coach. It's a 5-step process. And within that 5-step process, there are certain things that we're going to identify with. We're going to identify with your goals, what you want to accomplish in the next year. We're going to reverse engineer those goals. We're going to qualify those goals. We're going to quantify them with real numbers. We're going to look at your products, your services, your prices. How do you have your products and services packaged? Do you have a variation of products and services? Do you have recurring revenue? We're going to look at your revenue strategies. These are all the things that we're going to be looking at if I was to sit down with you in a one-on-one session. We're going to also look at what types of systems and processes you need for sales, for marketing, for your administration, for your finances. We're going to put a game plan together. That's what I do with every client that I sit down with on a one-on-one. But this workbook is a 17-page digital PDF version of what we do in person. So we're extending an opportunity for you to take advantage of it for free. All you have to do is click the link. You can download this business coaching assessment workbook for free. We added a walkthrough video module. So for each step of this process, I have a video walking you through it. And if that's not enough, you can text the word strategy to one of these numbers, and my team and I are available to give you a strategy call. Maybe it's 2 or 3 questions you need answered. Like we've done this for hundreds of people. Yes, we have a lot of people who we coach and consult who pay us tens of thousands of dollars to work with them. But guess what? We have a lot of people that we've just answered 1 or 2 questions and they went on their way to do whatever it is that they wanted to do. So I'll remind you about that before today's show is over. Today, ladies and gentlemen, guess what we're going to be talking about? What can you do with a holding company? A lot of people want to set up holding companies. They want to set up operating companies. So when you're Googling and you're typing in the YouTube search engine and you're looking for information on how to start a holding company, how to structure it, how to set it up, one of the questions that I know I get a lot of times from people is, what can I do with a holding company? So if I have a holding company set up and it's an LLC, and then I have 2 or 3 other LLCs set up under my holding company, if I get that far to figure out how to structure it, what can I do with a holding company? We're going to talk about that today. I'm only going to give you 3 things you can do. There are so many things you can do with a holding company because I do it. And I have a lot of people that I've helped to do it because I am personally responsible for setting up, I can't even tell you how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of entities like a holding company. All right, we have a question in the chat. The question is, how do you obtain intellectual property? How do you obtain intellectual property? I'm going to answer that question a little bit today for you. So hopefully you'll get some clarity on that question. How do you obtain intellectual property? Because that's one of the things you can do with a holding company. So let's get to it, and then I'll come back and answer that question that we just got in the chat. What can you do with a holding company? Well, number one, you can use a holding company to hold, that's the key word, hold. You could use a holding company to hold ownership interests in other businesses, okay? That's one of the main things you're going to do with a holding company. So let's assume you set up your holding company LLC. So you have ABC Enterprises LLC, all right, or Ramon Preston Enterprises LLC, and it is set up, filed, and formed with paperwork and an operating agreement as a holding company. This is your parent company. This is your version of a JP Morgan. This is your version of a Bank of America. This is your version of an Amazon. This is your version of a Campbell's. This is your version of a Berkshire Hathaway, okay? ABC Enterprises or ABC Holdings LLC. This is your holding company. One of the first things that you can do with that holding company is hold ownership interests in other businesses. Now, why do I want to hold other ownership interests in other businesses? Well, let me give you an example. If you have plans to set up a real estate investment company, that's REI. Let's say if you want to set up a company, or let's say you just want to acquire other businesses. You want to find people who are selling businesses and you want to figure out creative ways to buy them. Let's say if you have partnerships and other things. There are people who want to do business and they just want you to be their partners. These are all business operations and business activities. Maybe there are other business entities you want to set up because you have certain products you want to sell or services you want to provide. So we'll put here operating entities. So right here, if you have an apparel business that you want to start, maybe you want to do digital marketing, maybe you have a family member or a friend that wants to come into a partnership with you for a business that they found is on sale. Maybe you want to acquire 2 or 3 other businesses. Maybe you want to get into real estate investing. You want to get into trucking. Let's just assume you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just assume you have 4 different business ideas that's going to require 4 separate entities that are not bundled together in one business operation. Well, that means you're going to have to set up 4 separate LLCs, correct? Well, if I set up 4 different LLCs, 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't want to be the owner of all 4 of those LLCs, because whatever money comes into those 4 LLCs, it's going to pass through that LLC and come straight to me. So I don't want to be the owner of those 4 LLCs. What I want to do is I want to own one LLC, which in this case is the holding company LLC. And then these 4 that we just mentioned here, I want them to be all owned by that one LLC. So that's one of the main things and first things you can do with a holding company. You can use it to hold the ownership interest, whether it's 100%, whether it's 20% in a partnership, whether it's 80% in a subsidiary, or whatever it is, 2%. I want my ownership interest to be owned, not by me, but I want my ownership interest to be owned by my parent company. Okay, that's one of the main things. and first things you can do with a holding company. Number two, and I'm only giving you three because we don't have a lot of time. The second thing you can do with a holding company is you can use it. See if I can write all this down. You can use it. I wrote these down and I want to make sure I give them to you. To increase your organizational net worth. By accumulating intellectual assets or intellectual property. This is getting ready to answer the question I just got. So the second thing you could do with a holding company is you can use it to increase your organizational net worth through or by accumulating IP. We're gonna shorten it for IP, intellectual property. So what is intellectual property? Well, it could be a lot of things. Trademarks. It could be a trademark. It could be a copyright. It could be some type of proprietary process that you have for your business. It could be a platform. It could be technology. It could be a curriculum. It could be content. For example, if you have a service that you provide, like something so simple, and I use some simple examples so that you can wrap your mind around it. Let's say you shine shoes and you want to build a business around shining shoes, but you don't want to stay stuck as a shoe shiner because you've learned certain concepts and principles from somebody like Ramon Preston, and now you want to set up a holding company, ABC Holdings LLC, but you also want to create ABC Shoe Shining LLC. Well, number one, you've already structured an entity where it can own the shoe shining business rather than you personally owning it. So when you start pivoting out of the shoe shining business, that's not your whole baby in the bathwater that you're throwing out. It's just a separate entity that's an asset and you own the ownership interest of it through your holding company, right? Well, this second thing that you can do with that shoe shining business that's owned by your holding company is you can look at the intellectual aspect of your shoe shining business. Is there a certain process you use to shine shoes? That would be considered intellectual property, because you have a 5-step process for shining shoes in 60 seconds. Well, you can take that 5-step process as intellectual property and you could create curriculum around it, content. You could build a platform to make it easier for other people who want to get into shoe shining business. You can franchise it or sell licenses for people to use your process. All of that is intellectual property. Okay? You can write a book, have copyrights. Maybe you have, 60-second shine. It could be a trademark that you trademark. Maybe it's a patent. You created your own shoe shining, whatever the stuff is, shoe shining sauce that you put on put on your shoes. All I'm saying to you is, once you build the concept of this entity structure, it opens your creativity up to see that, oh, wow, I need to start increasing my organizational net worth by accumulating assets. And those assets at first may not be other businesses. Those assets may not be pieces of equipment or real estate. Sometimes those assets are all intellectual. So that's why I always tell people that I talk to that if there's a certain service you provide as a business owner, or if there's a certain product you offer as a business owner, you need to look at those services and those products and figure out how many variations of that service and product can you create beyond the physical service, beyond the physical product. You want to look at virtual, digital, intellectual. And if you take the time, you can actually do that. But you got to be committed to doing that if what I'm saying makes sense to you. So these are just a few of the intellectual assets. Like, for example, okay, I'm a business and real estate consultant first. So what does that mean? What that means is if somebody wants to become a business owner, I have the expertise and the ability to sit down with that person and show them how to set up an entity, how to structure that entity, how to create products and services, how to integrate systems and processes. That's what a consultant does. I can do that. If a business owner already has a business and they need somebody to come in and troubleshoot because they feel like they're all over the place, guess what I can do as a business consultant? I can sit down with them and I can flesh it out. I can show them where they're glitching at. I can take them through an assessment. All right. I can do that. In real estate, I do the same thing. Somebody want to get into real estate investing and they don't know where to get started. I can show them how to set their entity up. I can help them put a game plan together for what areas they want to invest in, what type of real estate they want to invest in. I can show them, or I can underwrite properties and help them through the whole entire process for them to become real estate investors. That's what a consultant can do, right? So that is a form of coaching, but that's more of a professional project-based side of business when I talk about consulting, okay? Well, because I am a consultant, that is a service-based business, right, that I have. What else can I do with that service-based business as a consultant? Oh, I can coach people. Well, all I need to do is create programs like my Millionaire Mentorship program. Who can I coach? I can coach entrepreneurs, individuals. I can coach real estate investors. So that's another business that I'm taking the intellectual assets and property that I use as a consultant, and I'm creating a different variation of that as a coach. What else can I do? Oh, I could create curriculum. So now I have a program called the Millionaire Blueprint. So now I can teach people the things that I work with clients on as a coach and a consultant. So that's 3 different variations for the same intellectual property. What else can I do? I could write a book. I could create workshops like this one. This is a whole workbook for a workshop on holding companies and asset management right here. That's copyright. That's my intellectual property. What else can I do? Oh, I have trademark. So the Millionaire Blueprint is a trademark. I own the trademark on that. Oh, what else can I do? I can create a process. I have a 5-step process that I use to consult and coach. Now, all of this, these are assets. Now, even though they might not have market value until I start making money off of them, but once I start making money off of them, guess what else I can do? I have a licensing program. So people can pay me and become licensees, and they can use all of this and go monetize it. Whether they use it with my name on it or they white label it and use their own name, but they have built-in workbooks. They got digital programs and courses and workshops and boot camps. They don't even have to come up with this stuff. All they got to do is plaster their name and their logo on it, and they can start monetizing, making money. What did I just do? I just increased my organizational net worth by accumulating assets that were already there in the form of intellectual property that I had to take the time to create variations of. I just explained to you something that could make you a millionaire in the next couple years. Period. Point blank. Number 3, which, by the way, let me say this. It all sounds good while you're on a show for 30 minutes talking about it or listening to it. But I've been at this for over 20 years, and just within the last 3 or 4 years since I really started delivering a lot of these different variations, I'm not where I want to be. So I'm not making $30 million a year off this stuff yet. But I'm building it because I have the belief that one day I will make 30, 40, 50, $100 million off this stuff. And it would be like automated. But what's going to get me there? I got to keep showing up. I got to keep working it and reworking it. I got to keep creating different variations of it. So none of this that I'm saying is going to mean anything to you if all you're doing is listening. But after today's show, all you do is look at a couple notes you took and say, ooh, that was good. What he said made sense. Ooh, man, I got to do this. Yeah, I'm about to do that. But you never execute. And most of the time, if you're not around people who are encouraging you and pushing you, guess what? You're not going to execute. The third thing you can do with a holding company is you can use it. You can use it to what I like to call reposition yourself and run high level, some people may call them high ticket services through it. This is something that most people that I know, they don't know to do this and they don't think about doing this. So the third thing that I'm telling you that you can do with a holding company is you can use it to reposition yourself. So let's talk about repositioning yourself first. What do I mean by that? Now, again, I wish I could give you access to this right now, but I can't. You're just going to have to reach out to me to get a copy of this. But in my workbook, in my holding company course, including my workbook, I have this concept that we created called the SMS matrix. And the SMS is really short for structure, marketing, and sales. And so if you could see that, I don't know if y'all could see that. Let me see if I'm putting it in front of y'all. Could y'all see it? Yeah, you can see it a little bit right there. You can see that SMS matrix. So this is like a hybrid sales and marketing funnel that I've created to show people how you can use your holding company to reposition yourself. Let me give you an example. Ramon Preston Enterprises, LLC. It is a Georgia-based LLC right here in Georgia. It is my parent company. If you go to the Georgia Secretary of State and pull up Ramon Preston Enterprises, LLC, okay, my company is going to come up. And if you look at the NAICS codes that this LLC is registered under, you're going to see that, oh, it is registered as a holding company. Okay, so it is a legal LLC entity categorized as a holding company, right? But I'm not just using that company to hold ownership interests of other businesses. I'm not just using that company to house or to hold and accumulate assets like copyrights, books that I publish, courses that I create, programs that I put together, or licenses that I offer to people. But I'm also using this holding company to reposition myself. How am I using it to reposition myself? Well, the company's name is Ramon Preston. So now I'm using the company to stand on so that I can reposition myself not just as Ramon Preston, the person, but as a brand. I want Ramon Preston to be a brand. I don't want it to be a name. So for example, when you think about the name JP Morgan, in 2024, when you think about the name JP Morgan, 99% of the people are not thinking about a person. They're not thinking about a person, a human being. They're thinking about this huge, massive bank. You get what I'm saying? When you think about Charles Schwab, Merrill Lynch, you're not really thinking about people who existed in the past. These were people. You're thinking about this massive entity. When you think about Keller Williams, right? Real estate, you're really not thinking about two different people. that came together and created a business. You're thinking about this massive real estate entity. Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm repositioning myself using my holding company, right? But I'm also running high level or high ticket services through it. So my consulting services, my coaching services, my educational services, these are services that I offer. These are products that you can buy, but they're digital. They're intellectual. They're not real. They're not real. It's not like you're buying a car when you buy consulting. It's not like you're buying a pen when you buy coaching. It's not like you're buying a chair when you buy a training course or a holding company workshop from me. You're buying my intellectual assets, if I'm making sense. So these are high level or high ticket services, but I'm running them through the same entity. And some people are like, why are you doing that? You're exposing yourself. Well, maybe I am exposing myself, but until it is volatile or until it demands me to put it in a separate entity, it's not a big deal because I have insurance. It's just as simple as that. So these are 3 things you can do with a holding company. I would love to get some feedback from y'all on what you think about those 3 things. And Matt in the chat, I hope I answered your question. The question was, how do you obtain intellectual property? You take all the things that you do and you create different variations of it, right? So if I shine shoes, how many different variations of shoe shining can I create? Well, there's a certain process I have. Step 1, I grab the shoe. Step 2, I put the shoe on a plank. Step 3, I get my cleaner and I clean it. Step 4, I buff it. Step 5, I wax it. Step 6, I put it back on somebody's feet. Step 7, whatever. So I'm going to create my own 7-step process. I could take that 7-step process, I can market it, I could create content around it, I could show other future shoe shiners that you don't need 15 steps, I got 7. That's how I start obtaining intellectual property. Now, you can take another route as well. There are companies or people who have intellectual property. You can buy it from them or you can license it from them. You know, that's what affiliate marketing kind of is. You're just taking other people's property and assets and you're just getting a little drip from it. So hopefully you all learned something today on what you could do with a holding company. Again, if you are a small business owner and you want to build a 7-figure enterprise, you need to know some of the details on engineering and building that enterprise. We have a free business assessment workbook. In the link, you can click it. You can download this digital workbook. It's 17 pages, absolutely free. Once you download it and you start going through the walkthrough videos that we have accompanying this workbook, if you have any questions, we will extend a strategy call to you. All you have to do is text the word strategy to the numbers you see. Sean said, I had a holding company structured in Wyoming and an LLC in Georgia for my e-commerce business that I'm working to build now. Excellent, man. That's a great setup. Nothing wrong with that. He's got a holding company structured in Wyoming and he has an LLC in Georgia for his e-commerce business. That's absolutely good. So now it's time to take that intellectual property and start creating different variations of it. And because you have a holding company, there are other things you can do. You can start parlaying into other things. So again, if you need any resources on this, I'm telling y'all, I know this to be true. All you got to do is Google it or go to YouTube and put it in the search engine. I'm one of the few people, and I say few, and maybe the few that's out there, they might be like attorneys or, like tax people, but I'm one of the few people that teach as much about holding companies, the structure, the concept, the different variations, the uses of it, how you can leverage them and maximize them. I'm one of the few. So I have a lot of content on my YouTube page. We have workshops on holding companies, asset management. We talk about creative tax strategies through these types of entities. I have an entire startup kit and course with probably hundreds of educational videos and probably over 100 questions we answer, different questions that people ask about holding companies. And more importantly, guess what? We have a free business assessment workbook, and we are here and available to give you a strategy call. So appreciate you all for joining the show today. My hope and expectation is that you've gotten some value from what we talked about. If there's anything we can do to further assist you, if there's any other information you need, feel free to reach out to us. Just text the word strategy. Why do I want you to text the word strategy? Because my team knows when that word strategy comes through, they already know it's somebody that's watching the show this week and somebody who has a question about building a seven-figure enterprise. So it may be a question about your structure, about restructuring, about an entity, about paperwork for your entity. It may be about your products, your services, or certain variations of it. It may even be about how to package your products and services so you can market them. Maybe it's about systems and processes. These are the nuts and bolts of business that you gotta know. And I'm a nuts and bolts consultant. I'm the engineering mindset for business. I like that part of the business, and that's what we specialize in. Another question coming in, do you have separate bank accounts for the holding company and the businesses it owns? Yes, I have separate bank accounts for any entity. If it's a separate legal entity with its own EIN number, its own articles of organization, it's going to have a separate bank account, and it's going to have a separate QuickBooks account or financial management account. That's how I have it set up. I'm going to separate bank accounts. I'm going to separate QuickBooks. Now, as far as the sales CRM, as far as the administration or the tracking of the KPIs, I'm going to put them all together, and I'm going to subdivide the entities in my CRM. So, for example, I might have a couple different LLCs. They're going to have different bank accounts. They're going to have different QuickBooks accounts. But then when you go to my CRM, where we house the data to track what we're doing with all these entities, we're going to have different pages or boards for each of those, where you don't have to have separate CRMs. You don't necessarily have to. So to answer your question, yes, we're going to have separate bank accounts for the holding company. And but like, for example, just to give you an idea so I won't confuse you, if I have a holding company right here, and let's say I have LLC 2, LLC 3, LLC 4. So as far as my bank accounts, I'm going to have 4 different bank accounts because these are 4 different LLCs. Most of the time, in my case, I have 4 different LLCs. I'm going to have QuickBooks accounts. I'm going to have 4 different QuickBooks accounts because I want all of these entities to be clean. Now, with the QuickBooks account for my holding company, it's going to show the pass-through activity for these 3. Why? Because my holding company is the owner. So when there are owner investments or owner draws out of this QuickBooks account, it's going to show from those 3 to and fro, because these 3 are owned by that one. So these 3 will be considered in QuickBooks, is called like a class. It would be considered a class in my holding. But these 3, I still want to be separate because these 3 are connected to 3 different bank accounts, and I want them to be clean so that they have their separate activities. Because you don't want to, you don't never want to bring anything you're doing with separate entities under question. So there's a thing called separatism, and that's going to show separatism. I got 4 different bank accounts. I got 4 different QuickBooks accounts. Even though 3 of them are owned by one, I still have them all separate. Even though with my taxes, I'm going to do a consolidated tax. My tax return will be consolidated, that push everything up to me to the top. But that's something your CPA is going to do. If that was complicated, it's just because you're not talking about it enough. But that's the way it is. All right. Appreciate you all. Thank you all for joining the show today. I'll see you all. Today is Friday, so we'll be back here Monday. Same place, same time, right here on the Ramon Preston Show.